Diddy was running some kind of Epstein type deal where he was filming everybody. Genuinely love it when someone like Diddy gets caught, though. I mean, he had a lot of people at those parties, right?
I was never at Diddy's party. I don't even know the motherfucker.
We're out
I don't
here
want to know nobody.
telling jokes.
Nobody.
If you don't have what they need, they're going to leave. You got to keep them there. You need locks on the doors. You need a lot of heat. You don't have no air conditioning. Heat affects the alcohol. Everybody gets a little bit more comfortable and loose. Builds up a nice little sweat. You need some good music, and you need me, of course.
Yes.
So tell me about your birthday party. Am I invited?
Yes. Yes, you're definitely invited. I invite you to all my parties. You just haven't seemed to show up.
No, well, is it on the East Coast?
Yes.
Well, that's why. Why don't you have one here on the West Coast? Because I work all the time.
Okay, well, maybe I have one at your house.
Where's that?
Joe Rogan recently posted a comment that sent shockwaves across the internet. This time, he questioned the unusual silence surrounding Ellen DeGeneres. While the Diddy scandal dominates headlines and social feeds, many people are asking the same uncomfortable question. Why is no one connecting the dots? Ellen's name keeps appearing in online discussions, yet most seem to ignore it. After Diddy was hit with serious federal charges, the internet did what it always does and turned into full detective mode. Old clips resurfaced, and interviews that once seemed funny now feel disturbing when watched again. That's where Ellen enters the spotlight. Fans began sharing throwback footage of Ellen and Diddy on her show. Viewers noticed how relaxed and comfortable they appeared, joking, laughing, and casually mentioning wild parties. Back then, it felt harmless. Now, those moments feel different, raising doubts about their chemistry and conversations that no longer sit right, with many viewers sensing an unease that wasn't obvious before, suggesting hidden layers, unasked questions, and uncomfortable implications that people are only beginning to reconsider as the story continues to evolve across platforms and public opinion spaces today.
All right, we're back with Sean Diddy Combs. Is it Diddy today? Because sometimes you're Puffy and sometimes you're Diddy. Or sometimes you're Daddy. What are you today?
I'm so confused today with it. As long as you say it in a nice way.
All right.
It's all right.
Yeah.
Now that the conversation has completely shifted, those old jokes are being rewatched as if they were coded messages. People are replaying the clips with fresh eyes, questioning whether there was more behind the laughter than anyone realized. Things escalate when Joe Rogan's comments enter the discussion. According to Rogan, there's a specific reason Ellen hasn't faced the same level of scrutiny. He noted that Diddy appeared on her show multiple times, and their party talk wasn't random. It was filmed, casual, and unusually comfortable. Now, fans believe those exchanges may have been subtle clues, small pieces of a much larger story that's only just starting to surface publicly, raising suspicion, debate, and ongoing curiosity online among viewers, commentators, creators, and critics closely watching how events continue unfolding over time worldwide, now everywhere.
What are you holding there?
I'm holding my package.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
When you pause and really think about it, the silence surrounding the situation feels impossible to ignore. It pushes people to question whether this is simply unfortunate timing or something that feels too risky for anyone to openly address. The situation becomes even stranger when people remember how Ellen's long-running talk show ended following widespread accusations of a toxic workplace culture. That controversy wasn't just another trending topic. It completely reshaped how audiences viewed her public image. Soon after, Ellen and Portia chose to relocate to the United Kingdom, a move Ellen publicly linked to political tensions in the United States at the time. However, many viewers interpreted it differently. To them, the timing felt less like coincidence and more like a signal that something deeper was happening behind the scenes. While coincidence is always possible, audiences are rarely satisfied with uncertainty. That is why people continue revisiting old interviews, archived footage, and past moments, searching for clarity about what truly occurred off camera. Before diving further into Joe Rogan's perspective, it is important to understand why Ellen's name repeatedly resurfaces in this discussion. When BuzzFeed News published its explosive report about the Ellen DeGeneres show, it shattered her carefully built Be Kind brand almost overnight. Former employees described experiences involving intimidation, racism, and a work environment that discouraged speaking up without fear of consequences. What resonated most with the public was the contradiction. A show centered on kindness was allegedly fueled by pressure, fear, and control behind the scenes. The backlash intensified quickly, leading to the dismissal of several executive producers and forcing Ellen to address the allegations publicly. Despite her apology, the damage lingered. Public opinion never fully recovered. The debate shifted into a single persistent question. Were the issues caused by a few problematic producers, or did they reflect the overall culture of the show itself? Ellen maintained that she was unaware of everything happening backstage, a response that sharply divided audiences. Some accepted her explanation while others rejected it outright. Regardless of where opinions landed, her once spotless reputation was permanently shaken.
As you may have heard, this summer there were allegations of a toxic work environment at our show. And then there was an investigation. I learned that things happened here that never should have happened. I take that very seriously, and I want to say I am so sorry to the people who were affected. I know that I'm in a position of privilege and power, and I realize that with that comes responsibility, and I take responsibility for what happens at my show.
The show continued for a short time after the controversy, but when Ellen eventually decided to end it, she explained that it no longer felt creatively challenging. Many fans didn't accept that reasoning. For them, the damage was already done, and the trust between Ellen and her audience never fully returned, no matter how much she tried to move forward. That's where Joe Rogan's perspective enters, and it immediately stirred debate. While talking about Diddy on his podcast, Rogan highlighted something he believes people ignored for years. He said it was strange how celebrities openly joked about Diddy's well-known parties, treating them like a symbol of status. Back then, everyone laughed along. But with recent allegations surfacing, those same jokes no longer sound harmless or funny, instead feeling uncomfortable and deeply unsettling to many listeners today.
There was always so much East Coast, West Coast shit that's still like in the zeitgeist, you know, like with Biggie and Tupac, and they were all hating at each other, and they both got killed, and there was a lot going on. And then there's people that thought that Puffy was involved and Suge Knight was involved.
Rogan didn't hesitate to speak his mind. He mentioned names like Ashton Kutcher and several other celebrities who once bragged about Diddy's parties as if attending them was some kind of elite achievement. Then he pointed out a detail many people overlooked. One of the biggest platforms where these party stories were casually discussed was Ellen's show. Rogan's message was straightforward. How could so many high-profile celebrities spend years around those circles, joke about the parties on national television, laugh it off, and later claim they never noticed anything strange? The current allegations against Diddy paint a very different picture. That's why Rogan's comments struck such a nerve. These stories weren't hidden or whispered. They were shared openly, and the world simply moved on. One specific clip from Ellen's 2018 interview with Diddy continues to resurface online. In the clip, Diddy invites Ellen to his parties and jokes about her never attending. He then mentions that his parties start early, but the real action happens later at night on the upper floors. Ellen laughs and reacts in a way that suggests she understands exactly what he means. That brief exchange has viewers replaying it repeatedly, convinced there was more beneath the surface. Her response felt like an inside joke shared by only a few, and that lingering impression is what people can't seem to forget.
What time would your party start, let's say?
Like 9:30.
Really? That early?
Yeah.
I could make that.
Yeah.
But I could think of you of starting a party at like midnight. Like, what time will it go till?
That's a different type of party, though.
Uh-huh.
It'll go from like 9:30 to like maybe 3 o'clock, 3 o'clock. And then, we have the top 2 floors of the hotel.
And then it will carry on there?
Yeah. Then the after party.
No, I know about them.
So why does this moment matter so much, and why does Joe Rogan find it odd that Ellen's name is often missing from the main discussion? For one thing, Diddy appeared on her show multiple times. The party jokes weren't isolated remarks. They came up repeatedly, almost like a running theme. Each visit included similar comments, yet no one ever challenged them. As expected, the internet began digging deeper. Older footage resurfaced, including a 2002 interview Diddy did with Conan O'Brien where he joked about needing locks on the doors at his parties. At the time, it sounded like exaggerated humor meant to shock and amuse. Today, when people rewatch that same clip, it feels unsettling. What once seemed harmless now feels eerie, almost like a warning that went unnoticed for years. Whether that interpretation is fair or not, it has reignited online discussion at a massive scale.
You're neat, though, right? I would imagine your closet is color coordinated. Everything is hung in a certain,
yes.
Right? So you're neat. It's just that you're not the person that puts it back. All right.
As those old clips circulated again, the central question shifted quickly. What did Ellen actually know, if anything at all, and why has she remained silent? Online users didn't stop there. A 2016 tweet resurfaced where Ellen jokingly gave Diddy a playful nickname, and that post began trending once again. Soon after, several clips reappeared showing Ellen being questioned about Diddy, only for her to avoid answering entirely. Some viewers pointed to her body language, saying she appeared tense or uncomfortable. Others argued that anyone would react the same way when caught off guard by paparazzi or unexpected questions. Regardless of where people stood, those moments only intensified speculation. The lack of direct answers, the awkward reactions, and the timing combined to make the situation appear far more suspicious in the public eye, fueling even more debate across social media platforms.
Now, first of all, you can make someone famous overnight just by sampling their sound. So I could get you a copy of that, and then you could just see what you want to do with it. Maybe that slides in someplace real nice, you know what I mean? Okay, let me ask you for some advice here, because clearly I need some.
Oh, what was that?
I'm the human beatbox!
Joe Rogan summed up his point clearly and directly. If you were close enough to someone like Diddy to invite him onto your show repeatedly, joke about his party lifestyle on national television, and respond as if you understood the meaning behind those late-night references, then people will naturally expect you to speak when serious allegations emerge. Rogan emphasized that it isn't about assigning blame, but about responsibility. When past jokes begin to sound more like admissions, remaining silent only deepens suspicion. His argument was simple. Once you participate publicly in those conversations, especially on camera, you can't later pretend you were never part of the room when uncomfortable truths start coming out.
Where are you going after this? It's all 20s. Where are you going after this? What are you doing?
You know what we doing, what we plan to do, girl.
The silence from Ellen and several other well-known figures is exactly what Rogan says makes the situation feel suspicious. From a public perception standpoint, it seems unusual when people who were once closely involved suddenly go completely quiet. That shift alone raises questions. But there is another layer that makes the story even more complicated. Many observers point back to Ellen's workplace scandal as a reason her name keeps resurfacing. Former employees described an atmosphere shaped by fear, where speaking up felt risky and uncomfortable. Online commentators began noticing similarities, arguing that the same dynamics of power, influence, and silence can exist in elite celebrity circles, especially when reputations, access, and status are involved. Those parallels help explain why the conversation keeps circling back to familiar names today globally.
So, Ellen, what do you think? Rihanna went back to Chris? Ellen, is that a good or bad move?
It's a bad move.
Okay.
Bad move.
Any advice you want to give to her?
Not really.
All right, then.
None of this suggests that Ellen committed any criminal act, but it does help explain why her name remains tied to these conversations years later. Other stories frequently appear in the same context, including claims about the so-called Ellen gaze, where a former crew member alleged the set felt tense whenever Ellen was present, or reports that certain guests were excluded from the show due to personal friction. Whether every detail is accurate or not, critics argue the pattern appears consistent: control, pressure, and silence. Once the public starts recognizing a pattern, people stop taking moments at face value. They rewatch old clips, reinterpret behavior, and analyze smiles and jokes differently. One moment that fans often reference dates back to 2009, after Chris Brown was accused of assaulting Rihanna. During that period, Ellen confronted Diddy directly on her show, questioning why Chris was allowed to stay at his home afterward. She spoke firmly, stating she did not want any woman to believe returning to an abuser was acceptable. At the time, that exchange positioned Ellen as someone willing to take a strong moral stand. Looking back now, viewers reassess it, asking how someone once vocal about accountability could remain silent today when similar questions surround people she previously defended and joked with publicly. This contrast continues fueling debate today again.
Well, this leads me to the perfect thing, because I would like you to clear something up. There's a lot of talk going on with Chris Brown being at your place in Miami, and you arranging Chris and Rihanna getting back together. Now, you want to talk about that?
See, I wouldn't use my Twitter to talk about that because that's somebody else's business.
I know, but you gave them your house.
Yeah. But we're talking about Twitter.
Yeah.
How you use Twitter, and that's something else. I'm just saying I wouldn't really Twitter about that.
Okay, let's not Twitter about it. Let's talk about it.
Okay. Can we dance?
Yes.
I would like to dance.
Dance. Do it.
Later, when allegations about the workplace culture on Ellen's own show began to surface, former staff members described an environment they called toxic, tense, and emotionally exhausting. These accounts quickly spread online and shifted public conversation in a new direction. People began accusing Ellen of hypocrisy, not because the claims proved criminal behavior, but because the contrast felt impossible to ignore. On screen, she had built a brand around kindness, empathy, and speaking up for others. Behind the scenes, employees claimed they felt intimidated, pressured, and afraid to raise concerns. That disconnect fueled widespread criticism and skepticism. As the debate grew, another storyline added even more momentum. Reports emerged that Ellen and Portia sold their Montecito mansion and relocated to rural England, with Ellen publicly linking the move to political conditions in the United States. Many viewers, however, remained unconvinced. To them, it did not appear to be a random lifestyle decision. Online speculation suggested the timing aligned too closely with Diddy's legal troubles dominating media coverage. As headlines intensified, audiences began tracking which celebrities addressed the situation and which ones stayed silent. That silence became a focal point. The deeper people went, the darker the rabbit hole became. Online communities did not simply observe events, they began constructing new narratives around them. At one point, a completely false rumor circulated claiming Ellen had an arrest warrant connected to her former DJ, Steven Twitch Boss, who tragically passed away in late 2022. The story even alleged a secret recording had been played in court. Fact-checkers quickly debunked the claim, confirming it was entirely untrue. Yet what stood out most was not the rumor itself, but how rapidly it spread. Many people did not stop to ask whether it was real. Instead, they accepted it because it fit the larger narrative forming online. That reaction revealed something important. Public trust had already been damaged. Once that happens, rumors travel faster than verified facts. Even false stories gain traction when they align with existing suspicion. As a result, Ellen's name continued trending alongside Diddy, regardless of accuracy. The question for many was no longer, is this true, but does this fit the story? With her image already cracked by years of controversy, her reputation became a magnet for speculation tied to darker Hollywood narratives. In that environment, every rumor sticks harder. Ellen herself acknowledged this in her Netflix special For Your Approval*, joking about being pushed out of show business, and admitting that the "Be Kind But Not Kind" headline became inseparable from her public identity. The comment was meant as humor, but it also served as a reminder. Once trust is broken, explanations rarely erase doubt. That lingering skepticism is why these stories continue resurfacing long after facts are clarified or claims are disproven.
And I've said it before, but I'll say it again. If I've done anything in the past 19 years, I hope I've inspired you to be yourself, your true, authentic self. And if someone is brave enough to tell you who they are, be brave enough to support them, even if you don't understand. They're showing you who they are, and that is the biggest gift anybody can ever give you. And by opening your heart and your mind, you're going to be that much more compassionate. And compassion is what makes the world a better place.
What truly grabbed public attention during Ellen's Netflix special wasn't only the humor. It was the tone beneath it. The way she spoke about ego, exposure, and how criticism often feels louder than praise resonated differently with many viewers. Ellen described the entertainment industry as a place of extremes, where people either idolize you completely or turn against you just as passionately, with the negative voices always seeming louder. However, instead of sounding reflective or accountable, many interpreted her words as deflection. To them, it felt less like ownership and more like someone still processing the backlash without fully confronting it. That emotional distance left audiences feeling that Ellen might still be in denial about what actually went wrong, which reignited debate across social media platforms. Then came another viral moment that pushed her name back into circulation. NFL star Aaron Rodgers appeared on Joe Rogan's podcast and made a startling comparison, suggesting that Ellen's old talk show set resembled the architecture of Epstein Island. Rogan immediately shut down the comment, explaining that the set reflected a common Los Angeles design style and was likely a coincidence. Still, the fact that such a comparison was even raised speaks volumes about Ellen's current reputation. Her name has increasingly been pulled into conspiracy-driven conversations alongside some of the darkest figures in modern pop culture. Not because of evidence, but because the internet thrives on dramatic narratives that feel cinematic. At this stage, facts often matter less than storylines. Every resurfaced clip, rumor, or theory becomes another thread in a growing web audiences can't stop analyzing. To understand why this continues, it's necessary to move beyond insults and focus on the recurring pattern behind these reactions.
Boy, oh boy, Ellen, I love you. I know you didn't ask where I've just come from, but I just got off a plane. I'm on tour. I just did 5 nights in a row. And I just made it here, and I love you.
I love you too.
When the discussion about that Los Angeles building design began circulating online, the internet immediately erupted with speculation. Social media users spun countless theories, some claiming Ellen knew more than she ever admitted and was quietly living in England while Diddy faced serious legal trouble. Others argued that Joe Rogan was simply voicing what many people had already been thinking, questioning why certain celebrities face relentless scrutiny while others seem to escape with far less backlash. Soon, self-proclaimed body language experts joined the conversation. Clips of Ellen avoiding questions resurfaced, with viewers claiming her posture, expressions, or pauses made her look nervous or guilty. It's important to be clear, though, that isn't evidence, it's perception. But perception is often the fuel that keeps online controversy burning. Scroll through comment sections and a familiar storyline keeps repeating. Old headlines about a toxic workplace, an apology that many felt was incomplete, a sudden move overseas that people treat like a coded message, and now the Diddy situation acting as the thread tying it all together. Piece by piece, online audiences have stitched these moments into one massive narrative, and that narrative has become the engine driving this entire controversy. At its core, many people believe Ellen never truly faced meaningful consequences, and they're searching for a deeper explanation. That brings the discussion back to the original question. Why does it feel like Ellen's name is carefully avoided whenever Diddy's situation comes up? Some believe the answer isn't legal protection, but social insulation. They argue Ellen still benefits from wealth, legacy, and long-standing Hollywood relationships. Even after stepping away from television, she retains influence and resources that allow her to shape her own narrative. The difference now is that voices like Joe Rogan don't operate under the same unspoken industry rules. He openly challenges silence, not to accuse, but to question why silence exists at all. That willingness to say the uncomfortable part out loud is why the topic keeps resurfacing. Once a platform as large as Rogan's treats something as a valid question, audiences run with it. Importantly, the controversy isn't about claiming Ellen is comparable to Diddy in terms of wrongdoing. Making that leap would be reckless and unfair. What people are actually asking is why some celebrities are publicly interrogated while others appear to be handled far more gently, even when footage, quotes, and past moments raise eyebrows. That imbalance is what keeps the discussion alive. The Diddy scandal didn't just generate new headlines, it triggered a rewind. People began rewatching old interviews, reevaluating past jokes, and treating moments that once felt harmless as potential clues. This shift represents something larger than gossip. It reflects an audience trying to understand power, access, and influence within celebrity culture. So what comes next for Ellen? Most likely, a quiet life away from constant media attention. Unless credible, verifiable evidence ever links her to criminal activity, not rumors, not interpretations, not theories, she will likely be remembered primarily for the fallout surrounding her workplace scandal and the damage to her public image rather than any connection to Diddy's legal issues. Diddy's situation, however, is far from resolved. Legal processes don't disappear overnight. Appeals, filings, and civil lawsuits ensure his name will remain in headlines for years. Each new development pulls more attention and often more names into the conversation. Some may be relevant, others almost certainly are not. That is the chaotic nature of Hollywood's rumor machine. Once it starts moving, it rarely stops. As the dust settles, the broader shift becomes clear. By late 2025, the Diddy case continues generating real legal developments. Federal investigators remain deeply involved, examining multiple civil allegations accusing him of serious misconduct over decades. In 2024, Homeland Security agents raided his properties in Los Angeles and Miami as part of the investigation, an event that sent shockwaves through the entertainment industry. Since then, Diddy's legal team has denied all wrongdoing, but reputational damage has already taken hold. Major brands quietly distanced themselves, and many former celebrity allies stopped offering public support. That silence only amplified suspicion, reinforcing the perception that power and fame shield some figures while others are exposed. This dynamic circles back once again to Ellen DeGeneres, whose image never fully recovered after her show ended in 2022. She has largely stayed out of the spotlight since then. No daily television presence, few interviews, only occasional public appearances with Portia de Rossi in California or the United Kingdom. Even so, her name resurfaces whenever a major Hollywood controversy emerges, almost as if her downfall became a reference point for how quickly public opinion can flip. Joe Rogan continues to provoke discussion on the Joe Rogan Experience, where conversations about celebrity culture, power, and accountability frequently go viral. What separates him from others is that he doesn't filter his commentary through public relations concerns. He challenges narratives openly, raising questions many avoid. As the Diddy case unfolds and more connections are examined, public attention is shifting again. The question is no longer just about guilt, it's about protection. Who is shielded and why? That question now hangs over Hollywood as 2025 draws to a close. In the end, silence itself has become part of the story. And sometimes what isn't said speaks louder than any headline ever could. So what's your take? Has Ellen been unfairly pulled back into a controversy she doesn't belong in? Or is the public justified in continuing to ask questions the industry seems eager to avoid? And as Diddy's legal battles continue, do you think more powerful names could eventually be drawn into the spotlight? Share your thoughts in the comments. This conversation isn't over, and the most insightful perspective will be pinned. If you found this breakdown useful, like the video and subscribe for more daily deep dives into celebrity culture, untold scandals, and Hollywood power dynamics. New stories arrive every single day.